everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be sharing with you guys some biblical fiction book recommendations based on what the life of Ruth might have been like. I've been doing a series of videos lately where I've been sharing biblical fiction book recommendations based on specific biblical events or biblical figures. So, for instance, I started this series with a video about biblical fiction books based on the life of Rahab, and then I did a video on biblical fiction books based off of the Exodus or off of Moses' story. So this week I'm going to be doing a video on Ruth retellings. If you'd like to see any of the other videos in this series, then just go ahead and scroll back on my channel. They're all going to be there as well. So let's get into the recommendations. I don't know about you guys, but I love the story of Ruth and Boaz. It is one of my favorite it is one of my favorite Bible stories ever. I love all the inspiration that you can draw from their story, and I think it's just one of those stories that is very often quoted, especially at weddings and whatnot. So I really am excited to share with you guys some of these books because these are some good ones, guys. So let's get into it. The first book that I'm going to be sharing with you guys is Diana Wallace Taylor's Ruth, Mother of Kings. This is a really interesting book. I love Diana Wallace Taylor's writing style is very interesting. It builds a lot off of history and context, and typically with most of her books, there's quite a big time frame of time period that she covers with her writing. And she's a really good author, and she's really good at like historical context as well as just like retelling the Bible stories as they're written in the Bible and giving you some extra layers of depth to kind of dig into. So this book is one of those that would be on my Ruth list. Another biblical fiction retelling of Ruth actually comes from Francine Rivers' novella collection, A Lineage of Grace. If you don't know what A Lineage of Grace is, I talked about the other novella collection in a previous video. It's called Sons of Encouragement, but essentially these are novella collections with biblical fiction novellas, and in between, after each novella, you have like a little bit of a Bible study to go along with it. So it's part fiction, part nonfiction, and I really recommend these collections. But this one, actually, the third novella in this collection is a Ruth novella, so I highly recommend it. The novella itself is called Unshaken, and I believe you can get them individually on ebook, if not on paperback, but if you can't, this is the whole collection, and I love the collection. Again, A Lineage of Grace by Francine Rivers. There's quite a few biblical fiction novellas in here centering on different women, but it's all women that are like in the line of Christ, so really interesting take there. That's kind of like the title, A Lineage of Grace. So really enjoy these books, and I highly recommend them. There's some great takes on biblical fiction. The book that I'm going to be recommending to you guys is Redeeming Grace by Jill Eileen Smith. This is a biblical fiction book, obviously about Ruth. I don't even know why I started it by saying that, but this one is really interesting. I do love how multi-layered this one is. I love all the side characters in this one especially. There's a lot of good side characters in this that really bring the story to life. So the focus isn't necessarily just on Ruth and Boaz, but like on several different themes and how themes apply to different people. So I really like this book. This is one of my favorite Jill Eileen Smith books of all time, so I highly recommend it, and it's just a really beautiful story. I love all of Jill Eileen Smith's books for the most part in her Daughters of the Promised Land series, so if you're looking for more Ruth retellings, this is definitely one for you to check out and add to your Goodreads TBR if you do Goodreads. If you do Goodreads, be sure you go ahead and join my book club, Biblical Fiction Buffs. You can search us on Goodreads. We're a biblical fiction discussion group for all fans of biblical fiction and a quarterly online book club, so yeah. Got that out of the way. The final book that I'm going to be sharing with you guys is probably my favorite Ruth and Boaz retelling ever, and I know a lot of people who feel this way, and it is Tessa Afshar's In the Fields of Grace. This book had me crying and sighing and just like delighted and elated, but also heartbroken and emotional and moving. It's just a very vivid and stunning portrayal of Ruth's life and her life with Boaz, and I can't recommend it enough. It's really incredible, and Tessa Afshar, again, is an amazing writer. writer. I talk about her all the time. Her level of depth in her storytelling and how layered it is and how everything like just comes together. It comes full circle by the end of the last page. Her endings are always so satisfying. I cannot recommend Tessa Afshar books enough, and especially I cannot recommend In the Fields of Grace enough. These are 4 biblical fiction books based off of the life of Ruth. For all of you fans of stories based on Ruth, I highly recommend that you check these out because these are some great recommendations for you guys, and they all have similar themes. I think that was obvious. A lineage of grace, redeeming grace, In the Fields of Grace. The story of Ruth is a very grace-filled story, and I really think that all of these adaptations do a good job of portraying it, so there you go. Once again, if you don't know who I am, my name is Jenna Van Mourik. I'm an inspired writer and an inspirational fiction reader who reads, writes, and lives for Jesus. You can find all of my information, my bio, my links, and everything in the description box below, but the short version is that I do a lot of vlogging and blogging about biblical fiction and Christian fiction. I'm active on Instagram at Jenna Van Mourik almost every day, posting pictures of what I'm reading, what I'm writing, and what I'm doing with my life. And I'm also pretty active on my blog where I post book reviews every time I read a new book, as well as just little lifestyle posts here and there, so you can go ahead and go check that out. AuthorJennaVanMourik.com. Again, the link is in the description box below. And sign up for my newsletter over there if you would never want to miss a new update. I send them out monthly to just tell you guys and check in, see how things are going, and share with you guys some big updates about what's coming for me personally, as well as for my channel and for my social media. So make sure you go ahead and check that out. Like I mentioned, I do host an online quarterly biblical fiction book club and discussion group called Biblical Fiction Buffs via Goodreads. We have a really great time over there talking about all things biblical fiction. And if you ever are looking for a recommendation, post it in the Goodreads discussion group forum for Biblical Fiction Buffs, because there's over 200 of us out there right now, and I'm sure someone can recommend way more books than I can. Again, these little videos are not meant to be an exhaustive list. They're just a few of my favorites by authors that I like, or authors that I've read before, or books that I've read, and it's by no means an exhaustive list. These are just what I happen to have on shelf and on hand at the time. So make sure you go ahead and check out Biblical Fiction Buffs if you really enjoy biblical fiction. Seriously, it's a great community, and I could not be happier with how it's all come together, and it's really incredible. Once again, thank you so much for watching. If you've read any of these books or have any other books that you'd like to recommend, then be sure to go ahead to leave a comment with all of that information down below, and let's chat about all things Ruth retellings. I'd love to hear more from you guys, whether you've read these and have thoughts, or you have other books that I didn't mention but that you think should be on this list. Thanks again so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!